All of you know that Dennis Prager is one of America's most consequential radio talk show hosts. He's been broadcasting on air in Los Angeles since 1982. His show became nationally syndicated in 1999. It airs live Monday to Friday for 3 hours each weekday. You've seen Dennis on Fox and Friends, Red Eye, Hardball, Hannity, CBS Evening News, The Today Show. You've read Dennis in Commentary, The Weekly Standard, The Wall Street Journal, and in his syndicated column across the country. Dennis Prager is one of the boldest and most prominent Jewish conservatives speaking, writing, working today. Some of you are going to have the privilege of seeing Yuval Levin later this afternoon in one of the breakout sessions. Yuval Levin has recently taught us that conservatism is a form of gratitude. Gratitude to the achievements of men and women who came before us, gratitude to the rituals, habits, and practices in which those achievements are often embedded. Here are two things I'm especially grateful to Dennis for. First, Dennis has written 5 books on America, on anti-Semitism, on public affairs. But his book, The 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism, originally published in 1986, is still extraordinarily popular. It changed my life. I discovered that book as a teenager, fresh back from my first trip to Israel. And even as it sought to answer big Jewish questions, it also provoked Jewish questions that remain with me, that have influenced my family and my work and my community. I know I'm not alone in that. When I talk to people, the 9 questions people ask about Judaism has helped countless young Jews think their way into Jewish life like me. Dennis, thank you. I also want to thank Dennis for the incredible work that you do at PragerU. Almost everyone in this room has binge-watched, like I have, PragerU videos. You know that they're 5-minute introductions to conservative ideas. The videos often take the form of questions. Are Israeli settlements the barrier to peace? Where do good and evil come from? Dennis himself has personally delivered these short lectures on each of the 10 commandments. There are videos on sexuality and philosophy and religion, history, politics, warfare. PragerU's video, Do You Understand the Electoral College? A 5-minute video has been viewed by more than 53 million people. These videos are a form of education that conservatives need to learn from and do better in imitating. For his industry, his creativity, all of us owe Dennis Prager a big thanks for PragerU. Dennis, thank you. Dennis, come on up. We're eager to hear what you have to say.
Hi, everybody. It's an honor to be with you. I'm really honored. Thank you to Roger and Tikva for making this possible. Jonathan, those were beautiful, beautiful words. Just want to tell you, whenever I'm introduced, I think, will karma play a role? Because I introduced Joseph Telushkin once, and Joseph Telushkin and I go back to high school. We wrote two books together. The second one was Why the Jews? The Reason for Anti-Semitism. In front of 1,000 people in Los Angeles, when the book came out, he introduced me, and then I introduced him, and we both spoke on Why the Jews? The Reason for Anti-Semitism, and this is what I said, because I didn't need notes to introduce Joseph Telushkin, whom I knew as well or better than his parents did. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you tonight Rabbi Joseph Telushkin. When Joseph Telushkin speaks, he brings Jewish history to life. He brings Jewish thought to life. He brings anti-Semitism to life. Can you imagine being introduced as someone whose speeches cause pogroms? That is, I have never lived that down, and I have listened to every introduction ever since. So anyway, thank you for that. Thank you all for being here and for having me. So let me get into it. I will speak for a few more than 20 minutes. I know I have an hour total to include questions and answers, but I have so much I want to tell you. I wish I had 3 hours, which is my normal radio time. But I understand that that's not possible, and I'm delighted with what time I have. Is conservatism good for the Jews? It's sort of like asking, is conservatism good? It's not like asking, it's the same question. If something is good, it is good for the Jews. If something is bad, it is bad for the Jews. It would be like asking, is vitamin C good for the Jews? Well, if vitamin C is good for Presbyterians, it's also good for Jews. I don't see any difference. It's like my teaching of the Torah, which I've done my whole life, and this is not an ad, but it's taken over my life. My commentary on Shemot, Exodus, the second book of the Torah, is coming out in April. And my whole theory is either the Torah has something to say to everyone on earth, or it has nothing to say to Jews. I don't understand the notion of, is it good for only one group? I don't understand it. If it's good, it's good. We're not different. I mean, yes, there is something transcendent about Jewish history. I believe in the chosenness concept. But if it's good, it's good. And conservatism is good. So let me tell you what it means, first of all. What does conservative mean? Because we don't have a good way. Most conservatives can't explain it al regel achat, standing on one leg. So here it is. The United States of America has a Trinity just like Christianity does. And for that matter, so does Judaism, God, Torah, Israel. But we don't call it a Trinity for good reason, and that's fine. But America has one. And it is on every coin. Liberty, in God we trust, e pluribus unum. What do you want to conserve as a conservative? That's what I want to conserve. I want to conserve the American experiment. Liberty, in God we trust, e pluribus unum. That's what I want to conserve. If you ask me, the left wants to destroy all three, and the right wants to keep all three. I have a motto on my radio show that has been unbelievably successful. I prefer clarity to agreement. I don't care if we disagree. I care most that we clarify where we differ. I, by the way, even advocate that for married couples. Instead of fighting, figure out where you really differ. It might be much less than you thought, but at least be clear, this is where we differ. My wife thinks I'm a poor driver, so it's clear to me what, in fact, where we differ. I think I'm a great driver. So we differ, that's all, it's clear, it's a non-issue. I know that within 5 minutes of driving, I will be critiqued for my driving, and that makes me a normal couple, end of issue. So it is good to have clarity. The left doesn't believe in the American Trinity. It does not believe in liberty, in God we trust, e pluribus unum. It prefers equality to liberty, just as the French Revolution did. There is a battle of French versus American Revolution taking place in the United States and in the West. The French Revolution is winning. Equality is defeating liberty. The irony is you don't end up with equality or liberty, but it doesn't matter. Well, you end up with Venezuelan-like equality. Everybody has to stand in line for toilet paper. So this is number one. We believe in liberty. And the most obvious example, and I must say I didn't predict this. I never thought that freedom of speech would be an issue in the United States. I am old enough to remember when the Nazis marched in Skokie, Illinois, where many Holocaust survivors lived. And I remember the New York Times and the ACLU defending the Nazis' right to march with swastikas in Jewish Holocaust survivor neighborhoods because America venerates freedom of speech. But freedom of speech is no longer believed in by 48% of millennials who were raised by left-wing teachers from kindergarten through college. Every poll shows virtually half of American millennials do not believe in free speech if it's hate speech, which is, of course, an absurdity. Who doesn't believe in free speech for love speech? The whole point of free speech is that I allow you to say what I hate or what I think is hateful. That's the entire point of it. Liberty is under assault in every arena. in the United States because the left is in the ascendant. So I want to conserve liberty of the American Trinity. I want to conserve e pluribus unum. E pluribus unum means from many one. Now here, by the way, here is a very important point. It has been extremely effective when I've used it. We are not fighting liberals. We are fighting leftists. And if you want to know the difference between a liberal and a leftist, here is in a nutshell on race. The liberal ideal in race was to be race blind, that race is as important as shoe size or eye color. The left believes race is important. There are black graduations at Harvard. There are black dorms at Cornell. How is that possible? Isn't that segregation? The left believes in racial segregation. Liberals hated racial segregation. A black dorm is a leftist idea, not a liberal idea. Ask your relatives, because you're a Jew, you must, by definition, have relatives on the left. It is not possible. No, it is not possible. There is no Guinness Book of World Record Jewish family without a leftist. So I would simply ask them one question, because I believe families should still love each other no matter what. But I would ask if the issue comes up, so Jerry, I'm just curious, do you consider yourself a leftist or a liberal? And he'll say, I know what he'll say, what do you mean? So give him this example. Do you believe in black dorms at UCLA? That's what you ask. It's very, very simple. There is no group that has been as race intoxicated since the Nazis as the left has. For the record, I'm not comparing the left to Nazis. I am simply stating a fact. The last race-preoccupied movement in the West was Nazism. It is now leftism. So that's a perfect example of where liberalism and leftism differ. John F. Kennedy has far more in common with everyone in this room than he did in terms of ideas with those on the left. Not to mention Daniel Patrick Moynihan or Henry Jackson and the like. E pluribus unum, from many one. Listen to this. The University of California, you could see this on the internet, has put out a list of microaggressions, things that, if are said, are inherently racist. This is one of them. I believe in only one race, the human race. That is declared, that statement is declared to be racist, a racist microaggression at the University of California. And finally, in God we trust, and here's where conservatives are failing. Most conservative intellectuals are secular. They are as oblivious to how important God was to the founding of America as any leftist. I don't blame them. I'm merely stating a fact. The American experiment is dependent upon in God we trust just as much as it is on liberty and e pluribus unum. Big God, little government. That's the way the founders saw it. You are going to have to be accountable to someone or something for your moral behavior. It will either be the God of the Bible or it will be the government. Every other society on earth made it the state, the government you were accountable to. In America, liberty was dependent. This is true for every founder. Not every founder was a Christian Trinitarian, but every founder was a Bible-based monotheist. Every single one. If you were to read Benjamin Franklin's statement of what he believed in, just speaking as a religious, though not Orthodox Jew, I will just tell you, everything Franklin believed, I believed. I believe. Everything. He believed in an afterlife where God judges us. He believes in providence working in history, and they were all Torah-based. That is why the only thing written on the Liberty Bell is a verse from the Torah. 99% of Jews don't know that, and 99% of American non-Jews don't know that. The only thing on the Liberty Bell is a verse from the Torah. This country was founded by Torah-based non-Jews. I want to conserve that for America's sake, for Christians' sake, and for Jews' sake. America will not survive secular. Sorry, dear fellow conservative secularists. It will not. The experiment is dependent upon "In God We Trust," as they are emblazoned on the wall in the House in Washington, right behind where a president gives the State of the Union address. But you never see it because the photographers, the video men, never pan out. So unless you go there, as I have, you will never see the giant words "In God We Trust" that are right above the House Speaker and Vice President when the President gives his State of the Union address. This is a challenge to those of you who are secular. We need you, we love you, but it will not work. Because as Chesterton put it, when people stop believing in God, they don't believe in nothing, they believe in anything. When Christianity died in Europe, it got worse for Jews, not better. As bad as much of Christianity in Europe was, it was light years superior to its replacements, communism and Nazism. And the same is true for America. Our best friends in America are overwhelmingly Christians, which produces or should produce a great cognitive dissonance for Jews. That which Jews most trust is the center of Israel and Jew hatred in America, and that which Jews least trust is the center of love of Jews and Israel. Jews least trust Christians, and they're our best friends, and Jews most trust the university, and that's our biggest enemy. That's cognitive dissonance writ large. Yes, it's driving rabbis to fast when Trump gets elected. You know, there were rabbis who fasted when they didn't fast on 9/11. They didn't fast when over 1,000 Israelis were slaughtered by terrorists. They fasted when Donald Trump was elected. For a rabbi to fast after an election, these narcissists do not understand something. This conservative, I won't speak for you, this conservative was just as unhappy when Barack Obama was elected as they are when Donald Trump was elected. Here's the difference. The difference is I'm a grown-up. That is the entire difference. That's why we don't riot or fast. They're children. If you do not understand that immaturity is at the heart of leftism, you do not understand leftism. It is a desire not to grow up. It is a desire to deny unpleasant reality. Like men and women are basically different, or even more unpleasant reality. Men and women objectively exist. It's not funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. As a conservative, I understand the following, and this is my other challenge to conservatives. And to Republicans, I had the honor of talking to a dozen congressmen for 3 hours at a dinner. It was just my wife, myself, and a dozen congressmen in Washington this past year. And I told them what I tell every single Republican that I get to speak to. You can't run just against your opponent. You must run against the left. If Americans don't understand the damage the left is doing to the country, we don't stand a chance. As flawed as we may be, as flawed as our president may be, we had one alternative to this president, and that was a leftist. And between them, there is no moral question. The lesser of two evils is good. That's the way it works in life. The desire to have a wonderful person that you admire at all times is beautiful, but it is childlike. In real life, it was Clinton or Trump. That was it. I wanted any one of 17 Republicans more than Donald Trump. Every week in National Review, I wrote against him. But I wrote from my first column, if he gets the nomination, I will support him. Period. And that was worked out well. I don't understand this utopian streak. Well, look, he sends out stupid tweets, or he exaggerates, or he lied about this. It's all true, and it all may not be true, and it is all irrelevant. The alternative to him is a decimated America. That's the only alternative. What is wrong with you? How can you not see that? And I've debated this in National Review. I debated this with Bret Stephens on the New York Times video channel. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But I want Republicans to understand, I want Democrats to understand, we were as upset with Barack Obama as you are with Donald Trump. We didn't riot, we didn't fast, we didn't, in this disgusting use of the anti-Nazi phrase, create the resistance. These moral fools who use terms that were reserved for fighting Nazis to fight the current administration. The resistance. Every Charles Blow column in the New York Times is about the resistance. Folks, America is at stake, and if America fails, guess what? It ain't good for Jews, because this country has been blessed, and it has blessed Jews. This is the Golden Medina. That's the way the Chabad Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe would characterize the Golden Medina. It is a Golden Medina, and it's being wrecked by Jews and non-Jews on the left. If you don't understand that leftism touches, everything leftism touches, it ruins. Everything. It has ruined the university. That beautiful gem of an institution in the Western world has been ruined. The university today is the center of Israel and America hatred in America and the West. It is the center, it is the epicenter. It is the epicenter of the movement against free speech. And I tell you why. I discovered it when I was at Columbia. And my dear friend David Schimmel, who I haven't seen since my days at Columbia, is here. And it was a great joy to see him. We were at the School of International Affairs. They then changed it to School of International and Public Affairs because SIA sounded too much like CIA, so they added a P. I'm serious, I think that is the reason, because a lot of people went from SIA to the CIA. Anyway, when I was at Columbia, and I wrote this, it's on the internet, How I Found God at Columbia. I give you my word as I stand before you, this is how it happened. I was very unhappy at Columbia because I was being taught by brilliant fools. Every one of them was a fool and every one of them was brilliant. Why are there so many? I was told men and women are basically the same. I was told that America and the Soviet Union were equally responsible for the Cold War. I was taught drivel, patent nonsense. Why? I was taught by people who believed in Marxism, which is leap years below astrology. And so I was taught by these people, and I said, how could that be? How could so many brilliant people teach me drivel? And I give you my word, because I went to yeshiva till I was 18, and then I continued in Mesivta under Rabbi Eliach at the yeshiva Flatbush. So many years of yeshiva study. And I remembered all of a sudden, it came back to me what we started saying in first grade after the Modeh Ani in the morning, thank you God for returning my soul. Reshit Chochma Yirat Hashem. Wisdom begins with fear of God. And then the great epiphany of my life. The reason there is no wisdom at Columbia is that there is no God at Columbia. Godless is wisdomless. There is no exception to that. There is no institution, there is no godless institution that has wisdom. There are individual secular people with some wisdom, but there is no secular institution that has wisdom. And that's the university, and it has been poisoned by the left. Whatever the left touches Christmas, bye-bye Christmas. It's now, you have to say happy holiday or holiday party. I have a great line when people say happy holidays. You know what I say? Which ones did you have in mind? I just do that. It's awesome. It's really great. Then now they're off. Now they're ruining Thanksgiving. The Los Angeles Times published 2 articles on Thanksgiving. Both of them crapped on Thanksgiving. How do you crap on Thanksgiving? And I'll give you the answer. You're a leftist. Because the left hates everything that is healthy and happy and good. I wrote a book on happiness. I do an hour a week since 1999. I've been doing an hour a week on happiness. I'm a happiness maven. And I'm telling you, the core problem on the left is they're unhappy. There is not a happy leftist on the face of the earth. There isn't. There are happy liberals. There are no happy leftists. And misery loves company. I am miserable. I hate the happy, and I want you to be miserable too. That is at the core, psychologically, of the left. Thanksgiving, how could you be against gratitude, the most beautiful human emotion that exists? They hate it because they have nothing to be grateful for. I interviewed Howard Zinn before he died, which is sort of redundant because you can't interview people after they die, but I'm noting that I'm aware of his death. It was not related to his appearance on my show as well. I'm very kind to people whom I differ with. Anyway, I asked Howard Zinn, the author of the most widely used history of the United States. It's called A Proctologist's View of America. And I interviewed him, and I said, I'm just curious, do you think that the world is better or worse off because the United States was created? Answer, worse off. I said, you know, you haven't, but it's available, it's recorded, it's transcribed, it's all on the internet. I even said, so has America fought any war since World War II that is moral? He said, I'm not even sure that World War II was moral. This is the hero of the left in teaching about America and its history. Whatever the left touches, it destroys. It destroys the Boy Scouts, because there's another important rule about the left. They can destroy, but they build nothing. They build nothing except the state. As I always say on the radio, okay, so you want to destroy the Boy Scouts because you think it's homophobic and intolerant and bigoted and so on. Okay, why don't you start a movement to transform boys into good men? Because they don't do that. There is no left-wing Boy Scouts. It doesn't exist. They build nothing. They destroy everything. If a conservative doesn't understand that leftism is a mortal threat to Western civilization, it's a useless conservative. What do you understand if you don't understand that? There is nothing else to know. That's what it is about. Next. They teach anger. They're unhappy and they teach anger. Just read Charles Blow or Paul Krugman. That's all you need to do. It is anger after anger after anger. I feel bad. Actually, Charles Blow said he teaches his children to mistrust whites and to mistrust cops. And I remember my father, may he rest in peace. My father enlisted in the Navy in World War II. He said it's not right that only the Goyim are fighting Hitler. He's a very great man, my father. May he rest in peace. And he wrote, his senior class thesis at City College of New York was on anti-Semitism in America. But he raised my brother and me to think we were the luckiest Jews in Jewish history to be American. A man who wrote his senior class thesis on anti-Semitism in America. And then Charles Blow teaches his kids to mistrust whites and cops. They live in another angry universe. They're destructive. Black-white relations in real life in America are spectacular. In daily life, no one gives a damn. I just spoke, where was I? At Kingsborough Community College, because Adam Carolla and I are making a film called No Safe Spaces about lack of freedom speech on college campuses. It'll be coming out late next year. And I was just speaking to a class at Kingsborough Community College, obviously in Brooklyn, and just last week. And so I asked the class, how many of you think that America's racist? So a couple of hands went up. One of them was a black girl. So I said to her, so you think America's racist? Yes. Why? Because of the way in which, often blacks are treated, or I don't think she said African Americans. I think she said blacks are treated, or minorities are treated by the majority, something to that effect. So I said to her, this is on film. So I said to her, so tell me, do you experience racism? No. Have you ever personally experienced it? No. So why do you say it's racist? And she didn't have a coherent answer. She was taught it's racist. That's how sick it is. The left has poisoned American racial relations, Just like the last president poisoned relations by constantly saying Ferguson, the lie that a racist police officer killed an unarmed black kid because he was black. The President of the United States fomented racial division. Whatever the left touches, free speech I already mentioned. Western civilization. The President Trump, goes to Warsaw, says we have to protect Western civilization. The New York Times and the whole left says, oh, that's a dog whistle for white supremacy. It's a euphemism. Western civilization is now a euphemism for white supremacy. Franklin Roosevelt was a liberal, not a leftist. Franklin Roosevelt constantly spoke about not just saving Western civilization, saving Christian civilization. Can you imagine a president saying that? That's how bad it is, whatever they touch. The one that I am most scared of all the things they have ruined now, is the concept of male and female. I'll be speaking at Yeshiva University tomorrow night, and I will tell the Orthodox crowd there that Orthodoxy's done a pretty crappy job, and they're the best Jews we have by and large. I mean, I'm not Orthodox, so I have no axe to grind. But I mean, if I have one community I could rely on, there are individual Jews of every group that are fantastic, including secular Jews. But as a group, the Orthodox are the one community that still has its values intact. But they don't fight. If there's anything that a Torah-based Jew should fight for, it is that there is such a thing as male and such a thing as female. This is not anti-trans. It has nothing to do with the tiny segment of the population that has gender dysphoria. For these people, my heart goes out. If you think you are not the sex you are genetically, that is a catastrophe. It is beyond sad. My heart breaks for you. We need to help you. But I will not redefine male and female. The New York subway has dropped all announcements that say ladies and gentlemen. Did you know that? Then they followed the London Tube. The London Tube was the first. They don't say ladies and gentlemen. If you joined Facebook, you have now 57 choices under gender. 57, like Heinz. The Torah has a rule. I'm a big Torah fan, and my commentary on the Torah, Volume 1, is coming out in April, and I told you this is my passion. The Torah is the greatest thing ever written for anybody. It has a rule. A man cannot wear women's clothing, and a woman cannot wear that which pertains to a man. That's powerful stuff. I wrote that in a column for the Jewish Journal, whose wonderful publisher David Suisse is here, the Los Angeles Jewish Journal. And I wrote a column on that. And you should see the hatred from the head of the Reform movement calling me a hater and a bigot. To even cite that the Torah says that a man should not wear women's clothing is to make you a hater. They hate the Torah. They do. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. If there's any document that isn't leftist, it's the Torah. No, the Torah has a rule. I could give you example after example. Torah has a law that a judge cannot favor the poor in judgment. That means you have to rule on justice, not social justice. That's the definitional. This is what has happened. And finally, the left has poisoned Judaism and Christianity. Here's something you should understand, and then with this I'll end. Something you need to understand about leftism. It is the most dynamic religion in the world of the last 100 years. Way more dynamic than, forget Judaism, it's not even in the running. Way more dynamic than Christianity or Islam. Leftism. Leftism has taken over the world ideologically. The media, the universities, the high schools, entertainment, news, you name it. And religion. Leftism has influenced Judaism and Christianity far more than Judaism and Christianity have influenced the world in the last 100 years. Look at the PCUSA, Presbyterian Church USA. All of the world's 220 countries, it decides to economically strangle one, the Jewish state the size of New Jersey. That's the great enemy. And the Jewish left agrees. The Jewish left agrees. It's beyond sick. There's no word for it. There's no other group that produces such people. There was a Holocaust survivor named Helen Epstein who went to Gaza to show her support of Hamas. Hamas wants to do what Hitler did to her family, and she supports them. Look at the Pope of the Catholic Church. And I have 500,000 Catholic listeners. And I say it on the radio. I never say to one group what I don't say to another. Never. It is a rule of my life. The Pope of the Catholic Church believes in Christ, but his values are leftist. He is indistinguishable from the secular Jewish editors of the New York Times. Indistinguishable. They agree on everything except abortion. Everything. And then, of course, the rabbis who fast when Donald Trump is elected. If that's not a Chilul Hashem, then I don't understand the concept. And nothing happens. They're written about in the foreword as if they're heroic. This is the state of the world. The left is the enemy of what we stand for. I'll end with another end. The president said that among the glories of Western civilization was the symphony. So this particularly hit me because I have an avocation. I conduct orchestras. It's my avocation. So I just conducted this summer at the Walt Disney Concert Hall, Haydn Symphony. And I'm very involved in classical music, obviously. And I do think the symphony is one of the glories of Western civilization. Guess what the New York Times wrote in attacking the president? Well, there's nothing special about the symphony. Yes, Beethoven's Third is fine, but the president obviously has never heard Indonesian gamelan music. This is Anthony Tomasini, the head of the music critics at the Times. So I decided to listen to Indonesian gamelan music. And listen, I've been to Indonesia a couple of times. I love folk music around the world. But here's the thing. Beethoven's Third is superior to Indonesian gamelan music. And wait, you have to understand though, and you know who knows that? Indonesians know that. That's why there's a Jakarta Symphony Orchestra, but there is no New York Gamelan Orchestra. But they're so into multiculturalism, the thought you can't assert, is this good for the Jews? You can't assert any culture is better than any other? That's good for the Jews? When no moral system is better than any other? So that's the state of our Western civilization in a nutshell. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, it's time for, by the way, I see Gary Bauer. Would you give Gary Bauer a hand? He's exactly what I'm describing as one of our great friends. All right, so I will repeat if I can hear it from way back where it is. Does anybody have, there's no mic, oh, there is a microphone, a floating microphone, terrific.
You've done a wonderful job of outlining the horrible problems we face. How do we fix it?
Okay, how do we, okay. There are two parts to solving a medical condition, right? One is diagnosing the condition. If you don't know that leftism is a cancer in the West, then there's no question of what is the solution. Half the solution is identifying the problem and saying it. Big truths have to be stated as often as big lies do. The big truth of leftism is a cancer must be restated over and over and over. Even at YU, it has to be stated. I'm coming to YU, and there's a leftist girl at Stern attacks me as a bigot and a this and a that, the usual. It's an empty, sad, pathetic column. Not because I'm so used to being attacked. If I'm not attacked, I don't function well. That's right. A day that goes by, I'm not attacked. What did I do wrong yesterday? Why wasn't I attacked? It's normal in my life. I don't love it. It doesn't matter to me. But so that I'm not the issue. The issue is, if there are kids at YU who think this way, then it proves my point. So the number one, my friend, is to acknowledge leftism is the enemy of goodness, not of the right, not of the Jews, not of Christians, not of America, of goodness. If you want goodness and kindness to prevail in the world, leftism is your enemy. Can I be more clear? That's more than half the solution. The next half is to make it clear why. That's where, thank God, we have you and we have so many wonderful organizations, and that's why we created Prager University. 600 million views this year. Had you told me we would have 2 million, I would have thought, wow, you're an optimist. 600 million, and the biggest segment is under 35. My favorite story, a 35-year-old guy stops me at, I think it was Detroit Airport, but I don't remember which airport this year. He goes, oh, I recognize you. I see you on these PragerU videos. You really do a fine job. I go, oh, thank you so much. And he continues to say how much he likes it. And finally he said, just curious, do you work for PragerU? It's one of my favorite moments in life. It was almost as good as another one I got, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So I just got to tell you one other. If you're a public figure, life is you have to laugh. There are a lot of funny things happen. I'm at LAX, the Los Angeles International Airport, waiting for my wife to pick me up. This is before we decided that Uber works better, because you can't get into the airport. It's a terrible airport, and it doesn't matter. So I'm waiting for my wife to pick me up, and I'm standing there with my luggage, and this young Hispanic woman keeps staring at me, which happens, you know, any public figure, it happens. So finally, she gathers up the courage, and she walks up to me, and she goes, are you? And I have this fun habit of, before they say my name, I go, yes. So she goes, are you? And I go, yes. Phil Jackson? It was so embarrassing. She thought I go around telling everyone I'm Phil Jackson. And it was, how do I explain I don't do that? But anyway, it is a lot of fun. So we have to make the case. But first, clarity is our friend. Without clarity, we will not win. That is my nutshell answer. Yes. Please stand.
Psychologically, why do you think leftists see equality as an end within itself as opposed to a means to prosperity?
Why do leftists see equality as an end in and of itself, and rather than what? Rather than as a means to prosperity? Well, equality is not a means to prosperity. The left is not interested in prosperity. This is another, just people need to understand, this is a clarity issue. The left is interested in equality, not prosperity. Why did they celebrate Castro? Why did they celebrate Hugo Chavez? Because these people spoke about equality. The idea that somebody has more than somebody else offends them. I don't know why, except to go back to they are unhappy about everything. They're not happy people. My next door neighbor in Brooklyn, New York on East 27th Street was Mr. Klein. To this day, I don't know his first name. We only knew adults as Mr. or Mrs. Mr. Klein got a new Cadillac every year. My father got an Oldsmobile every 7 years. Oldsmobile made you in the middle, because it went Cadillac, then Buick, then Oldsmobile, then Pontiac, then Chevrolet. We only got Oldsmobiles. We're in the middle of the middle class. And I only when I got older did I realize that we only had happiness for Mr. Klein getting his Cadillac every year. It never occurred to us to resent it. Do you know which of all the 10 commandments the left violates the most? The 10th. Do not covet what belongs to your neighbor. They are the quintessence of the violation of the 10th commandment.
Can you define specifically what you mean when you use the term the left or leftist by reference to Jewish values?
Well, Jewish values are the antithesis to me of leftism. Leftism denies, for example, that there is objective morality. They deny that there is nothing objectively real. Everything is created by the individual, even now male, female. The Torah believes in an order in the universe. The most important verse in the Torah is not love your neighbor as yourself. That was said by many rabbis, understandably. It is verse 1:1. God created the heavens and the earth. That's why 7 is the most repeated number in the Torah. Everything goes back to creation. That's why I have a problem with Yom Tov Sheni, because it knocked out creation from Sukkot and from Pesach, which is supposed to be 7 days. So it's just an interesting issue because we've lost a lot of meaning, but that's a separate subject for another time. But that God created an objective universe with order. Male, Zacharu Nekeva bara otam, male and female, he created them. Lo ish hayashar be'einav yaseh is moral chaos. Whoever does right in his own eyes. Every atheist philosopher I have debated has acknowledged, to their great credit, that since there is no God, ethics are subjective. The Torah Judaism is based on an objective right and wrong. It is not always easy to know what it is, but it does exist. So these are some of the examples that I would give. I gave earlier about a judge. In Idaho a few years ago, I was the moderator of a panel with Supreme Court justices on the Ninth Circuit. And it was in Boise, Idaho, and one of the former head Supreme Court justice of California said the purpose of a judge is to fight inequality and racism. And I said, with Mr. Justice, with all great respect, that is the purpose of a talk show host. You went into the wrong profession. The purpose of a judge is to judge justly according to the Constitution of the United States in a courtroom. All right, where's the mic? Where's the mic person? You have somebody, or should I just call? Over there? Okay. Shout in the meantime. Oh, good, there you go.
I was wondering if you want to spread true conservatism, should we be looking to convince people who are in the middle or reaching across the aisle to people on the left?
If we want to spread conservatism, should we try to appeal to people in the middle or try to reach people on the left? I want to reach everybody. There are people who call my show every week who say, I started out as a leftist, but my mother insisted I listen to your show. Or something like that. Or my husband did. Or my wife did. Or I just stumbled on you and I decided that I wanted to hear what a conservative had to say to know what nonsense they were spouting. I think we should say this to anybody who will hear us. But they don't want to hear us because they don't stand on an intellectual foundation. That is the reason they don't want us at universities. They truly believe it is frightening if we are heard. I'm not talking about Looney Tune, like the Spencers who might go there, who really are a white supremacist. I don't even know why they're invited. And I don't know any conservative organization that invites them. And then if they do, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to do. But it's a minuscule percentage of the time. Why would there be protests if I speak? Okay, they try to find, and man, I have 1 million words on the internet and 7 books and 33 years of broadcasts recorded. They can't find a line. They make up stuff. They make up. Dennis Prager believes in marital rape. You want to know why I'm charged with believing in marital rape? By the way, my wife is here. Just so you know, so, hi. So this is why I believe in marital rape. I wrote a column, which I am very proud of, and I got from Judaism. Like everything else, I got it from Judaism. It's a column, and it's titled, When a Woman is Not in the Mood. That is the column. I write on everything, not just politics. And here is my simple theory, that if you love your husband, and he is a kind and good man, you shouldn't only determine whether to have sex with him based on whether you're in the mood or not. That is it. There's always one guy who applauds. One. Everybody else, their wife is there, they don't do a thing. Oh, not me. It's Prager with his stupid ideas. And he's 17, that's the funny part. That was a great moment. 14, hey, awesome. I like you. No, this is very important. You know the greatest lesson perhaps that Judaism taught me that I know I have transformed people's lives with? Lo hamachshava ha'ikar ela ha'maaseh. It's not the thought that counts, but the deed. The Torah and Judaism are behaviorist. How much time do I have? I don't want to exceed my time. And that's very sweet. Do I hear 2? No, okay, fine. I want to tell you the story that changed my life. More than any other, this 4th grade Yeshiva Rambam, Brooklyn, New York. The rabbi says, Rabbi Fostag announces, all right, boys, it's time to daven mincha. Now, by the way, I tell this story to all Christian audiences. They don't know what daven mincha means, I promise you. It's time for the afternoon prayers. Okay, it's time to daven mincha. I walk over to the rabbi, 4th grade. I always had chutzpah, but I never, ever had disrespect. They're not the same thing at all. So I walked over, I said, Rabbi Fostag, excuse me, but I'm not in the mood to daven mincha. Rabbi Fostag, it was clear, even in 4th grade I picked up on this, he had never heard mood and daven in the same sentence. This was a brand new concept. So he strokes, it was classic, he strokes his beard and he looks up and he goes, Shmuel Prager is not in the mood to daven mincha. So what? That was it. I never in my life, from that day, just asked what's my mood. It doesn't matter. You do what's right, irrespective of your mood. Husbands and wives should make love. You're not in the mood. Okay, sometimes you're not in the mood, but sometimes if you're not in the mood, you should try to get in the mood because it's good for the marriage. I'm not in the mood to go to work every day. Somehow I do. What am I in the mood for? Who's in the mood to visit the sick? Oh, another day to visit the sick. Am I lucky? Yahoo! Visit Bikur Cholim. Yay! It doesn't happen. That's why we have the whole Judaism is based on mitzvah. It's a commandment. What do you say? We translate it as good deed because we've transformed commandment into good deed. But it means there's a commandment. That means it's not up to your mood whether you visit the sick. It's a mitzvah to visit the sick. It's a mitzvah to take care of the dead corpse. That's the biggest mitzvah of all because they can never repay you, as the Talmud puts it. It's brilliant. I got it's all from Judaism. All. They hate my article on women and mood. They hate it. I'm called a marital rape defender. I had a kid at the University of Wyoming who wrote a piece against me, said Prager advocates marital rape. I had him on my show. You should hear that hour to give you an idea of how poorly the left thinks. They're all the same. None think clearly. It is not possible to be on the left and think clearly. It is an oxymoron. Liberals can think clearly. Leftists cannot. It is very important to know this. There's no intellectual foundation, and especially the mood one. This is a very big deal. I gave a talk to high school kids at one of the most prestigious prep schools in California. Conservatives, kids at the class worked and worked and worked to get me to be one of the first conservatives to ever speak there. They got me in, and I spoke. And when I arrived, my wife was with me. She recalls this. And they said, so, Dennis, what are you going to speak on? And they were sure I was going to speak on, conservatism, making the case for conservatism, because they never hear it at their prep school. I said, I'm going to speak on happiness, which is probably the most frequent subject I do speak on, ironically. And they were crestfallen. It was obvious. They were respectful, but they were very sad. And they worked so hard to bring a conservative, and he's going to talk on happiness. It turned out it was the most controversial speech in the history of the school because I said, I don't care how you feel. I care only how you behave. And you have no right to inflict a bad mood on anyone else in your life. They have never been told in their lives that no one cares how they feel. Never. The left care. How do you feel? Are you comfortable? Do you need a safe space? Do you need Play-Doh and stuffed animals? The left is feelings-based. Judaism is behavior-based. On that alone, there is no possible rapprochement between Judaism and leftism. Goodness is what you do, not what you're comfortable with. That is the Jewish lesson. It is the antithesis of leftism. Yes, yeah.
Would you honor us with one final question?
One final question. Who should I call? Yes, please. Could stand, please. Here comes a mic.
You said that leftism is the most dynamic religion. What accounts for its power and its hold over people's imagination?
Wow, what a great final question. Because it appeals to human nature more than the American experiment or Judaism. That's why. This is the only country in the history of the world to be founded on the idea of limited government. No other country on earth was founded on that basis. It is not normal. People want to be taken care of. They want to be taken care of more than they want liberty. George W. Bush, wonderful human being, was naive. He thought everyone wants to be free. Freedom is a value. You have to be taught values. The human instinct is to be taken care of. I speak Russian. We had a Russian Uber driver last night. So we were talking, but then he lapsed into his English. So my wife understood it. How his parents, I told him I was in the Soviet Union under Brezhnev, and he goes, oh, the Brezhnev era, oh. My parents look back on the Brezhnev period with such nostalgia, right? He didn't know the word nostalgia. After 9 years, the guy could barely say, where are you going? But nevertheless, but that was fascinating. And it's true. I have no doubt he's right. His parents, and I asked him, why did your parents love the Brezhnev era? Because they were taken care of. They didn't have to worry about working and food and health care. No liberty, destroy Afghanistan. None of that. He didn't even know he invaded Afghanistan. He said, really? It was totally new to him that Brezhnev invaded Afghanistan and killed 1 million or more Afghans. But anyway, that's why it appeals. It is very appealing. How do you feel? How do you feel? We want you to feel good. The Judeo-Christian value system is we want you to do good and God will judge your behavior. Whoo. You know what the Talmud said, the Midrash? God held Mount Sinai over the heads of the Jews and threatened to drop it on them if they didn't take the Torah. That makes perfect sense. The rabbis knew what they were talking about. But first of all, between an orgy and the 10 Commandments, what would you choose? I fully acknowledge the orgy. It isn't even a debate. Oh, wow, well, let me think about it. There's nothing to think about. Judaism and the American value system are not natural. They are learned. Leftism is natural. That's why it's so much more appealing. This is what we are fighting against. Well, let me end with one thing. I want to give you a little good news. There's a lot of good news, actually. There really is. And I mean that. I'm not a built-in optimist. I'm the happiest pessimist I know. I want you to know this. First of all, the fact that Prager University's largest segment is under 35 is reason for real optimism. Secondly, I know where I come from in Los Angeles, there is a real, we are now the leading forces in conservatism in America, in liberal leftist California. And, you know, my good friend Larry Greenfield is here, who is one of those examples. David Suissa is now the publisher and editor of the Jewish Journal. Ben Shapiro is out there. The Daily Wire is out there. PragerU is out there. PJ Media is out there. We're really leading some sort of a renaissance that I just want you to know about. Kimi L.A. Tetzei Torah. And the word of the Lord from Santa Monica. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Great to be with you. Great to be with you. Good luck. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you.